Hi, you're listening to She Shield, your one-stop pod for all topics personal safety. I'm your host, Sofia, and my goal is to help educate women and men on concealed carry, martial arts, and all topics self-defense. This episode is brought to you by Big Tex Ordnance, your soon-to-be favorite retailer for all of your firearms needs. BTO believes in only selling high-quality gear for responsibly armed citizens, as well as providing pre- and post-sale support. BTO values firearms training and supports firearms instructors nationwide. They even pay for their own staff to train with high-level instructors to ensure that when you as the consumer reach out, you are taken care of. It's not like I don't read that 20 times, but still mess up anyway. Anyway, today...
It keeps it real.
Keeps it real.
And that's
exactly.
important.
I actually messed up on purpose so that you know it's live, but...
Yeah. We're not AI. This is real life. We're real people.
Exactly. Well, as you guys have heard, today we have Hunter Constantine on the show. This is something I've been looking forward to for a while. I got to meet Hunter at SHOT Show, which was crazy. It was kind of out of the blue. It was kind of happenstance. You were talking to Riley Bowman, and I looked over and I was like, who's that guy? And then I was like, oh my God, Hunter, I've been following you forever, it feels like. So,
Sophie? Yeah.
Exactly. I'm so glad you're on the show
today. Awesome to finally connect on here. Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored. I love connecting with fellow shooters and getting good information out for the listeners out there and everything like that. So hopefully I can share some of my perspectives and they find some value to it, learn something, have some fun, and just all around have a good time, whether they're eating lunch or driving to work or whatever your listeners do while listening to this podcast. I know it's probably a wide array of things.
Right. Absolutely. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for coming on. I listened to the episode with you and Riley on concealedcarry.com and this concealed carry podcast, excuse me. And I felt encouraged just listening to your story from just hearing about how you kind of changed career paths and you appreciate this community for what it is and you love what you do and it just shows when you speak. So I'm excited to also be able to kind of deliver that on my own podcast. So I'm kind of cheated by listening to that episode, but to get into it, if you don't mind, I'd love for you to introduce yourself.
Sure. Well, hello everybody. I'm Hunter Constantine. I'm a professional competition shooter. I shoot matches all over the country. It's my 5th year competition shooting, so I'm still semi new to the sport compared to some of my peers. I do some training. I do a lot of content stuff on Instagram and YouTube, and then I also have my own product, Concealed Carry Belt. And so there's a bunch of different avenues that we can take this path down, but I'm deeply rooted into the competition scene, and I wholeheartedly believe that shooting competition is the best way to improve your skill and build confidence on your guns, your firearms, and whatever platform you're using, because it's the pressure on demand, the performance on demand. And that was my initial thought of getting into competition shooting was I wanted to be able to protect myself better and shoot better. And the best shooters are always competition shooters. So I was like, I need to do this. And it turns out you can meet a lot of friends and you can have a lot of fun doing it. And I made it my life now. And so we are full steam ahead, train's not stopping. We left the station and we are we don't have a railway here in the United States. I was going to say like the transatlantic railway, but it's not that sexy. Either way, train's left the station and we're doing it. And so I'm here to help promote competition shooting, get people more comfortable with their guns, and do it in an entertaining way that isn't maybe like the traditional drill sergeant, people yelling at you, super macho man. Let's just have some fun, shoot some guns, learn something, and get better, you know?
Absolutely. And yes, all analogies you mentioned today must be sexy or we start the show over. So,
yes. Oh man, that's a lot of pressure, but we'll work on it. We'll see what happens.
Absolutely. I think you can handle it. So anyway, thank you for introducing yourself. I already know this, but I would love to hear you say it on this episode. How did you get started in competition shooting?
Okay. Not that sexy of a story, but it is kind of random. So first I'll speak when I picked up my first gun and then when I got into competition shooting. So when I was 18, my uncle, for my birthday, took me to Gunsight. That was the first place I ever fired a pistol, was Gunsight in Prescott, under some excellent instruction and supervision, and then instructor Ed Stock. And I remember Very first shot out of a pistol, first shot ever, was dead center on the X of a 10 ring,
Mm.
just like silhouette target. And I remember just talking shit, 18, being cocky and like, Ed, pretty good, huh? Oh, it's not that hard. I can. And it was a commander length, 1911, like factory ammo, just something brutal to shoot. And just looked at me calmly, didn't even react to me at all, and just goes, do it again. And I literally for the next 3 days didn't hit that X once.
Mm.
All around it, I got close, maybe just like
Mhm.
a little point of the X or something, but never in
Mhm.
the center of it. He was right, and I needed a lot of work. That introduced me, and I was like, okay, guns are pretty cool. You know, we grew up with video games and the movies and everything, so it's kind of ingrained into our culture a little bit. Where I was like, this is badass. I bought a gun shortly after that. Had some guns in college, but we didn't really do anything. We'd go to like farm fields and shoot at stumps. Occasionally, I think we got some steel at like the very end of my time in school. And then I didn't really seriously start shooting until I moved to Arizona. And like 2019 was the first year that I really dove into it. 2018, I think at the end of it, I shot just a couple matches, like a couple IDPA matches and like some local steel matches. And then I think February, I just looked this up the other day because we were talking about, I think February of 2019 was my first USPSA match. And then March of 2019, I was the match director for USPSA because they stepped down. And so I was a new shooter to the sport, running my club's matches for guys that have world titles and national titles, and people have been shooting for decades. And that kind of helped this baptism by fire and get started a lot sooner. And I used to be a big cyclist on bicycles, and I was riding hundreds of miles a week. I had some sponsors and things like that, and I moved to Tucson, Arizona, because I've toured to Tucson. It's a big riding community, and I knew competition shooting was a thing, but I didn't know what it was. So it was like in the back of my head, and I literally just Googled like how to shoot competition. Then I found Pima Pistol Club, and I called them. I'm like, hey, I've never done this before. I have interest in doing this. Talk to the match director, come down to the match, and I was so bad, like so bad. Like the first like 6, 10 matches, I was literally dead last. And if are you familiar with IDPA scoring? It's like time plus.
Somewhat. I've shot an IDPA
Somewhat.
match, but that doesn't
Well,
mean anything.
okay. We'll educate everybody listening too, because there might be
Please.
some people who don't know. So you have 3 zones on the target. You have a center circle. I think it's 8 inches or maybe 10 inches, but it's down 0. The next outside is plus
Mm.
1 second. The delta zone or the Charlie zone is +1. The delta zone is +3 on the outside edge. And then if you miss, it's like +3 seconds. And it's all time plus. So it's your time plus whatever time you accumulated from basically being inaccurate or shooting out of order or whatever it is. And for these local matches, there's only 5 stages, maybe 80 to 100 rounds total for the match, and I'd be plus 100 seconds. So on average, every shot was outside of that down 0 zone. And I mean, I was bad. I was finished dead last. But what it taught me, I started making friends. I was hanging out with like all the old dudes, like the FUDs basically. And I was having a great time. And I realized that competition shooting is not only just the competition in shooting, but it's a social aspect. And you just get to hang out at the range for 5, 6, 7 hours. You
Mhm.
get to hear cool stories from people. Like the conversations you have there are priceless. And my first year, 2019, I prioritized shooting as many matches as I could.
Mhm.
So I shot like 140 matches and like 3 major matches my first year of shooting, which is unheard of. And there's not many places in the country you can shoot that many matches in a single year. But all those conversations, I just got like these little tiny nuggets of information from people. And they would help me out with gear where I wanted to, like, I didn't have IDPA legal gear. I had a battle belt with like a leg strap, a Zev Glock 34 with a comp, like the gold coated barrel, like all the Gucci stuff. And I thought I was so high speed and I sucked so bad. So first of all, guys, if you think your gear can help you get your accuracy, it's wrong. Just practice does, and purposeful practice. But um, I found the community so welcoming where they're like, oh, I've got I've got an extra Glock holster. I'll bring it next match. Oh, I've got different mag pouches for you. I've got the right mags for you. Whatever it is, or you should try minimum power factor ammo. I'll bring you ammo for the match next time. And people were just overwhelmingly nice. And it was so refreshing because I didn't really find the same thing with other hobbies that I dabbled into, where everyone was just so excited to have a new shooter there and they just wanted to help. You'll get a couple thorns in the garden, but that comes with everything, but generally speaking, everybody was nice. They wanted to help out. And I was like, these are my people. This is great. And we all shared this common mindset and we all want to help each other and get better. So I started putting more effort into it. I found out about dry fire and started dry firing more. And I'd dry fire before work and after work every single day. Every weekend was shooting at least 2 matches. And that was my life for like the first 14 months of shooting. And I hit Grandmaster in that first 14 months. And so it was a very steep progression line, I guess. And it just comes with time. And so I went from not shooting at all in 2018. By early 2020, I'm now a Grandmaster in USPSA, and I've run the matches at the club for a full year. And so it was just a full 180 flip of just getting completely enveloped in the competition shooting world and the firearms community and things like that. And it was great. And I met, still to this day, some of my best friends in Tucson after I moved is from shooting community. And now I have pockets of friends all over the country from shooting around this wonderful nation that we live in, and so if I go to Dallas, I got people to call there. If I go to Colorado, I got people there, and so on and so forth. And so it's cool to have a network of friends around the whole country where if I'm visiting somewhere, like I will get slack if I don't hit them up and at least get a meal with them, but I love it. And just kind of building that intimate community, awesome. For yourself and your friend groups and stuff like that. And from there, it just progressed into even more. And now I get to help people with their journey and get people a little bit higher speed. And I like to think I've influenced a good amount of people to get into competition shooting. And it's like, I think it's one of the best communities in the firearms space, period. And so if you guys haven't shot a competition, I highly recommend going to try it. Who knows where it can take you, and like the confidence you have on your gun after shooting matches is sky high, where I have no question to a certain extent of picking up any gun and feeling like I could take an accurate shot with it. Where when I first started, it was blind confidence, I guess, where like I think that I could do that, but if we put it on paper on a timer, the likelihood of me actually making those shots is very slim. And I've seen it training a lot. And I train law enforcement, civilians, some military personnel, where they touch a gun a handful of times a year and they think that it's enough. But really we need to, I touch a gun every day, period. And that is, I think it's important. So it was a full 180 flip from not shooting any guns up until when I was 18, kind of shooting a little bit when I was in college, and then just going full bore, pedal to the metal, 6-gear pinned. Let's try to be one of the top shooters in the country. Maybe just like
absolutely. Was that a bike reference?
Yeah, like car, like race car. Like 6 gears. 6 gears usually like the last gear, and like pedal to the metal.
Okay.
Okay, pedal though. I get it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Either way, we're going fast. That's all that matters. Is we're going fast.
No, yes.
Yeah.
I'm with you. With you. I didn't know if you were tying in your bike journey, but now I see it's just my lack of knowledge in this area. Very cool. Very cool. No, I promise that's not all I got from that. Again, your story is incredibly inspiring, so thank you for sharing it here on the podcast.
Of course.
Something that you said that really resonated with me is like getting good at shooting. A way you can do that is through competition, and people don't know that. Like that's not like, you don't think of a competition as a way to like practice. You think of it as like that is the result of practice. Right. So when I first heard that, I was like, bullshit. Like that's not happening, right? It wasn't until I started going to like matches, like more than one match a month, like where I started to like see improvements just from like shooting a match before, where like, and even if I did just like a few sessions of dry fire between those two matches, there was an exponential increase. And if anything, you know, even if it wasn't with shooting, it was the mental game, and then of course that would yield a better result.
Absolutely.
And so I love that you're bringing that perspective here. That's not something that is intuitive, and so kind of reinforcing that idea on the podcast is something I've been trying to do. So I'd love to hear that from you. I think it's incredible that you have come so far, and what I'm hearing is that the secret to becoming a GM is to become a match director. Is that true?
I wouldn't say it's true, but it'll definitely help because I look at competition. There's two like little skill areas, and on one side you have your firearm skills, your fundamentals, your mechanics of like drawing your gun, reloading your gun, shooting your gun. The other side is the competitive skill, and that comes from your stage planning, and just like sequencing of targets and things like that, and just like understanding what you can get away with. In some matches, you can have a piece of steel that activates a moving target. And so when you first start out, you shoot the steel, then you wait for the activating or the moving target, and that's it. And then as you start getting your skill advantage, you're like, oh, I think I could squeeze in one more target. So I go activator, target 2, then the mover. And then you start kind of playing the game of finding out efficiencies and blending positions and shooting on the move. And so I break it down into kind of 2 separate categories, like know how to shoot your gun, know how to shoot the match. And then when you have like a good mix of those 2 is when you're going to start finding a lot of like success and those like little exponential bumps in your match results and your skill, because both of them start becoming second nature. And so match directing, I had to make 5 to 7 stages per match, twice a month, 2 times a month. And for the most part, it was just me and my buddy Cody building the entire match by ourselves with no help from anybody. And it was brutal, but I was dedicated to the sport and to do it. And so I had to come up with a fresh 10 to 14 stages every month. And I'm getting input from these guys that have been doing it for so long. They're like, you need to be able to shoot the stage 3 or 4 ways. I'm like, this is hard. I'm like, what do you mean? And it really flexed those muscles though. And so we were building really good stages, and I'd make the stages really hard, because if you practice really hard local stages, when you go to a major match, they seem easy. And so I was just like, it was even hard for those guys who've been doing it for a while. And they're like, these are really challenging. We really like this. So I just kept it with the same intensity level, or there's sometimes I got a little too close to the sun on stuff where they're like, oh, like every single person in the match got a miss on this stage. That's probably not a good stage. Something's probably a little too hard or something. But what that did is that it jump started my competition skill. Because like the stage planning is a big part of it to be successful and shave a lot of time off. I think it's low hanging fruit for your competition finish. And so I had to build these stages, and when I would go to other matches, it was like I felt like Zach Galifianakis in The Hangover with all the numbers popping up behind me, and I could just get on a stage and walk and be like, okay, I know what my plan is. There's no debating it. I didn't have to think about it that much. Sometimes you come across something that's very advantageous, like if you can cut a position down or something, if someone shows you. But generally speaking, it was like, walk onto the stage, identify the targets. I know what the plan is. There's no debating it in my head. There's no worrying about it or anything. It's just like, this is the plan. Here's where I'm going to reload. I need to hit these 4 positions. And it was just done, locked in. And I see a lot of new shooters struggling with the stage plan and having the mental capacity to remember the targets and what targets you shoot from where. And so match directing, and even helping out with matches too. I'd help set up for IDPA. I'd help set up for our local steel matches. I was just ingrained with everything going on. And it helps you jumpstart that skill into understanding what is going on for the match. So, and again, now you have another 4 or 5 hour block with people setting up stages. And guess what you're talking about? It's probably guns and competition shooting. So you get more of those conversations, and they're priceless because you don't know what you're going to ask that day or what you're going to talk about or what little nugget of information you're going to receive from them. And it's Like like I said, some people in my club have been shooting since the 80s and 90s, and it could just be one simple little thing, and it just sticks with you and helps you improve. And so I just wanted to hang around those people, have those conversations, help set up, and like you're learning more and you're increasing like your stage planning skills and your competitive skills all in the same time. So it definitely helps. It was a huge bonus to have that opportunity right when I started out. And so I also encourage people to go help out at their local clubs. And so if you have extra time, if you whatever it is, if you have the time to go set up and help, the match director is going to absolutely love you and adore you. The other staff, it's just good all around, and just like, do what you can to give back. We're able-bodied people, and like we're fit, and we can go help. And it means a lot to them, because typically what I've seen, a lot of the match directors are, at least in our area, they're older people. And
Here too.
yeah, like I know that when I'm in my late 60s, I probably won't want to be hammering nails into the ground for fault lines. And so I remember I'd like take the hammer and the nail bucket and just say, guys, just set everything up. I'll nail everything down. And they were like, oh, this
Awesome.
is great.
Yeah.
A lot easier to carry a target stand out there with some sticks than it is on your hands and knees with a hammer. But I was like, I was 24 then. And I'm like, yeah, I'll hammer all the nails in. I got it, guys. Don't worry. But it took some stress off them and so on and so forth. So yeah, the two little skill spheres though: competition skill, shooting skills.
I love that.
Hmm.
So, first of all, I'm glad I made that joke because I was like, this is going to be so corny, but I just like had to say it. And then as I said it, I was like, wait, hold on, this could be a thing.
Yeah.
So glad you went there,
Hmm.
because actually, this last match I did, it was a 2-day match.
Okay.
Same stages both days, which
Yep.
at first I was like, my initial impression was like, oh, like I wish it was, I wish they were
Different, yeah.
there were new stages, and then being able to shoot the same stage 2 days apart was incredibly beneficial. It was deeply humbled, and
Did you do better on
something
day one or day two?
day two actually, which
Okay.
I'm not really surprised.
Yeah.
I've been mentoring. I don't know what the word is. I have a buddy who I'm training with for the tactical games.
Cool.
And we're doing different competitions, but we're training together. And he had never shot a competition, so I took him to his first USPSA match to watch. He left there wishing he had shot it the first time. I feel like anyone would feel that way, because it is just
Sure.
so much fun. You show up and you realize it's actually like fun. And then by his second match, I was like, we'd walk up to a stage and I would ask him stage planning questions when, like, just the match before, I was still relying on whoever was the highest ranking shooter to like copy them.
Yeah.
And so this was like the first match. This was the one before the one I just mentioned.
Okay.
That I was like figuring out my own stage plan, and like just between that match and this past one, I have like, it's all clicking for me now because I've allowed myself to start figuring
awesome.
that out.
Yeah.
It's really nice. And the thing you said about the competition community is so true. And when I first started, I thought like maybe people were just being super helpful because I'm a female, and they're like, oh,
Sure.
this wee little thing, even though I'm super tall, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Needs help, right? And then I went to a USSA match in Oklahoma, and I saw how the guys all just like basically held the hand of this new kid that was shooting, just 18, wanted to try something new, and just watching them interact with him was so inspiring. And I realized like it's just the community, and then I've seen it more and more as we go on.
Yeah.
And how people have been treating Logan, my friend I've been shooting
Yeah.
with. So I love that you're touching on all of these points. For someone who is maybe where I was, and where I still kind of am, where I like to rely a little bit on those like higher level shooters, but I also want to develop my own plan and challenge myself. What would you recommend that person do, or even I do, whatever is easier to kind of answer,
Okay.
in order to improve?
I would say make your own stage plan, figure it out yourself, then go ask the high level shooter how they're shooting it. And then see where your plans overlap, see where they're different. And then ask yourself if they're different because there's a different skill level involved, or if it's, an efficiency thing on the stage. Because there's sometimes where I'm training newer shooters are squatted with me, and they'll be like, "What's your stage plan?" I'm like, "I'm doing this because of this, and my skill level. I can get away with more because my skill level is higher. Like, I know you're not going to be able to make this 25-yard partial shot in this like very tight position you need to hit or something. So this is my plan, and I'll show you my plan if you want to try that. But based on your skill level or how I've seen them shoot, I'm like, this is the stage plan I would do if I was in your shoes to try to mitigate the risk, because that's a part of the stage planning, is like figuring out what's how to be risk averse with how you're shooting the target arrays and everything. So yeah, like a 25-yard mini popper, that sucks. That sucks for me still, even. I'm like,
Mm.
I gotta really make sure I'm gonna hit it or something like that. And then I was like, well, can I shoot it while I'm creeping on the move a little bit? Or something like new shooter. I wouldn't even want to put him in that position. If there's an opportunity to shoot a little bit closer, I'd say it's probably going to be more advantageous to take, if it's 5 yards of movement or something, it's like, go take those 5 yards closer, those like 3 steps or 4 steps, and hit the steel, rather than trying to go to war with it where you're putting 5-6 rounds downrange to get the hit. But the biggest thing is make the stage plan yourself, so you're working on that skill, then compare it to the top shooter to see, like I said, see where they overlap. And you'd be surprised a lot of the time where they're like, yeah, it's the same plan, and like
Yeah.
a lot of it's just common sense. And I shoot stages that is easiest for me to remember. It might not be the most efficient plan, but if I
Mm.
walk through a stage and I'm like, I like how this flows, even though I'm adding like an extra position or something, or maybe I'm shooting something out of like a different sequence, because that's going to be the easiest to remember in my brain. And if something happens where I get thrown off my plan and my focus lapse because I have a malfunction or I trip or whatever reason, X, Y, or Z, fill it in, that I can snap back into that plan. And that's like my natural path of where my brain wants to go on the stage for the targets. And so I get in debates with some other top shooters where they're like, why are you shooting it that way? I'm like, it's just easier for me to remember, period. And it usually just comes down to execution, and like I said, sometimes, like I remember there was one stage, I think it was the Northern Arizona Classic a couple years ago, where you could like basically balance on the edge of a fault line and shoot a target across the bay, and you eliminate like 11 yards of movement. And so it's like you take a hard lean, it's a risky shot, and it was just a big steel popper, but that 11 yards of movement, I don't know, 2 to 4 seconds shaved off your overall stage time for taking like, I mean, it took more time to acquire the sights with the lean, but again, it was like, all right, like that's not something I would normally do because I don't want to shoot in a unconventional position if I don't have to. But in that case, it was worth it when you get to shave 4 whole seconds off of it was like a 25-second stage, and if you did the lean, you're shooting it like 20 to 21 seconds, which is huge when it comes down to scoring. And so, but again, just try to shoot the stage as easy as possible. Compare your stage plans with the top shooter, and then see what you can get away with your skill level.
Absolutely. I love that. And so that's something I had to tell Logan. I didn't say it as well as you just did, but he shot his first match, and he went super slow. I think he got a total of like 6 Charlies his
very
entire
accurate
first match.
Yeah.
Very, very accurate. He's a good shot. He's very safe. Great training partner. And I couldn't help but notice all of the guys were like, push speed. And I kept turning to them and being like, it's his first match. Like, it's his, like I would say it to all of them. And I could tell, not that it was really bothering him, but I could tell after a while if he was like, okay, yeah, I got it, And I remember thinking, I just kept going up to him being like, hey, do whatever you want this match. Don't get DQ'd. That's like the one, follow the safety guidelines, I think is how I said it. I try not to say don't do something because then we do it right.
Yeah.
But anyway, I told him that, and then I was like, next match, yeah, like push speed, but like, chill. Like, don't listen to these guys if you don't want to. And I know that was all in good fun, but after like the 6th time, I was like, all right, guys, like let's chill a little bit. I don't know. Like, I know that would have overwhelmed me, and I think about that a lot. I'll have guys come up to me, and again, such positive intentions, right? They'll ask me my stage plan like 2 people before I go. I'm like in my head mentally rehearsing. They'll come up and be like, "What are you gonna do?" That's what I was thinking. They'll say like, "What are you gonna do?" And then I'll explain. And of course, to me, I'm like, "Okay, fine. I'm mentally rehearsing. I'll explain." And they'll be like, "What if you did this?" And I'm like, "Oh my god,
like,
right now I cannot."
Yeah.
Do this, yes. I'm about to like not be a lady for a sec. I used to this last match was very eye opening for this topic because I wanted to be nice. I wanted to positively reinforce people helping other people.
Of course.
But at some point, the return, is negative, and so I have to try to balance that. Do you have any advice for people shooting their first match that maybe get that much input, like what they should focus on for the first match compared to second?
So when you're shooting these local matches, I like to set little goals for myself outside of your placement of finish on the scoreboard. So some matches I will have accuracy as my goal. So I'll try to shoot an all alpha match or a down 0 match. And then on the other side, there's some matches where I'll try to shoot as fast as I possibly can while remaining safe, of course. Safety is always at the most importance for every match, but trying to raw time everybody on the stages, which basically is just like how long it takes you from when the timer goes off to your last shot. And so regardless of what classification they are, what division they're shooting, I want the fastest time, period, which usually comes with some questionable hits. But at a certain point, it will tell you, like, you can shoot that fast. And there's other elements that you need to add to it to pick your accuracy up. And it's typically vision based. And so I always tell people if they're just naturally fast, not to slow down. Wait till your processing power can increase and you can see what you're doing at a faster speed. You're just not used to it yet. And it's reps just like anything else. Like if you're going to the gym and working on lifts, or if you're reading and your vocabulary is increasing, a third grade student in third grade isn't going to have the same vocabulary as a PhD student, and so it's the same thing with your speed while you're shooting the gun and how fast you can process the targets. Where there's some drills I've practiced that is just I'm really focusing on that processing power and how much information I can take in a short period of time, and when that translates to a match and going through a target sequence, I'm still processing where I'm fully thinking about like what's the next target, what do my sights look like, can I just slap the trigger and disrespect this target, or do I need a more focused deliberate trigger pull on it? And I'm processing all this information as I'm going, and in my head I was like, wow, that took so much time. But since I've worked on this processing power, and I'll look at the videos after and be like, wow, that was kind of fast, and stuff. But in my head, it's almost like it's moving in like slow motion. The movie Clock Stoppers from like way back when?
Oh, with Nicolas Cage?
I don't know if he was in it, but they had the little watch and they'd go in like,
wait, yes.
and they'd like go hyper time and everyone's moving slow.
Yes.
That's how I feel sometimes when I'm shooting stages where like I'm processing so fast that I feel like I'm going slow, but really I'm still going full speed because the processing power is caught up. Because shooting it's a visual and a thinking game more than anything else. And so it's just like, how fast can you process that information? And that's where you'll see a difference from a new shooter on a stage compared to an experienced one, where the new shooter's like, okay, I got to position. Okay, my gun is up. Okay, I found my sight. Okay, I'm pulling the trigger. Okay, I'm transitioning to the next target. Okay, I pulled the trigger. Okay, I'm transitioning to the next target. Okay, I need to reload now. Okay, I need to move. And it's like these like step-by-step things where there's a pause in between each thought. And as you practice more and increase that, it just flows naturally where like your gun's up coming in position, you rip through the targets, and it looks like one smooth, like you're just one smooth, fluid movement with your gun, and you're out of there and reloading as you're moving and stuff. And it's just, it takes time and it takes practice. But that's like the key to it, is just like increasing that processing power and being able to combine and blend those thoughts to get you through that stage successfully.
Absolutely.
it's a fun game. So play
Yeah.
those games when you're shooting your first matches. First one, always be safe. Don't get DQ'd. Second one, shoot penalty free. No mics, no shoots, no fault lines or no foot faults. Don't forget any targets, that type of stuff. And then once you get that baseline of safety and finishing the match without penalties, then you start playing the game of speed and accuracy and figuring out, what you need to do and what you need to get through.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. So
You're welcome.
what I'm hearing is kind of the like physical side of things, as far as the, just to like really break it down into like some general boxes. As far as the mental game goes, when is it important to start reinforcing yourself positively, focusing on what to work on, as opposed to kind of like negatively punishing yourself and focusing on what you did badly?
Well, if you're competitive, you're never going to be satisfied. Like I leave every practice disappointed and just mad that I can't shoot as well as I wanted to. And then there's been a handful of matches where I'm like, yeah, I did good. I feel good about it. But most of the time, I'm leaving the match being like, I'm gonna think of the last match that I shot. Last pistol match I shot, I had a hard time with steel targets on the move outside of 15 yards, which is a hard shot for anybody at any skill level. Like it's just very high risk to do that. But in my head, I should be able to do that. Why can't I do that? You know what I mean? And so I would take these little nuggets I'd get from the match of things I needed to work on. And that's what I'd hammer in practice, drive them home, go to the next local match or major match, try them out. I usually had those dialed in and then something else would pop up. And so it's a constant revolving wheel of figuring out what you need to practice, practicing that stuff, figuring out the new stuff. And as you keep going through this wheel, because it's very repetitive, like I had to, like last fall, I had to relearn how to press my trigger on my gun, which sounds crazy because I shoot at a high level, but like for whatever reason, I just like wasn't connecting with it. Or there's times where I've had to like relearn my grip because it just gets like sometimes the fundamentals just get lacking in practice, and like it's still fine and like it's still competitive, but I know it like dipped down a little bit. Like if we have all these different bars of skills, you're kind of like taking and borrowing, but as you're doing that, all of them are getting slowly increasingly higher, and you keep pushing yourself. And um, at matches, the mental game is huge. Like I think like all the grandmasters for the most part, and like let's say like top 25 shooters, we all have the same skill level. We can all shoot the targets at the same speed, and we can get away with stuff. And if it was practice, generally speaking, every target in every match we could get 2 alphas on. And what flutters your brain is the mental part of it, where now it's competitive, or you watch someone have a really good run, you're like, oh, I need to hit this mark, and if you don't hit it, now you have to deal with this turmoil internally of like, wow, I needed to hit that and I didn't hit it, so what do I do now? Do I push on the next stage? That's usually detrimental, but that's our natural reaction, is like, I didn't do as well, I need to push harder. And if you push harder, now you're not focused on just your fundamentals and what you need to do to get the score that you want. And so it's like this whole thing. The most success I've found is limiting myself for like sulking about a bad stage and praising for a good stage. So if I have a bad stage, yeah, I'll be pissed off for like 10 to 30 seconds right after I shoot it. And I'm like restuffing my mags. I'm like, you're dumb. Why'd you do that? Like you got flustered and X, Y, and Z happened. Whatever it is. And then if I have a good stage where I just absolutely crush it and hammer, I'm like, good job. Okay, next stage. And just a very short period of time to praise or sulk, and then just move on to the next stage. And I usually move on by just being social and like joking around and like staying positive and just, helping other people out or whatever it is, or however I can kind of distract myself a little bit from thinking about the match or the stages. And that's helped out a lot, because I think sometimes I've watched people get really cocky and they're shooting great, like world-class shooting, and they deserve to be cocky, and sure, but if you're riding that wave real high and then something bad happens, it's a far crash down. And
Interesting.
like area 4 last year, I was battling it out. and I was shooting with somebody, and like they were like stage win after stage win after stage win, and then they had a malfunction, and everything came apart, full come apart on the stage. And they, they did like a 60% run instead of like like high 80, low 90% run. And they couldn't beat it. And then the next stage they threw like a mic and a no shoot, and they got another 60%. And I remember just poking at him, being like, and he's used to winning all the time, so he's just coming through that thing where like every stage is mine. And I just started poking fun at him, being like, "Oh, like you are, um, what's the Bane quote? You merely adopted tanking a stage. I was born into it."
Nice.
And like,
Okay.
because I'm like my mental game's strong in that aspect where I'm like, I don't care. Like at the end of the day, like, yes, I want to get titles. Yes, I want to win. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. Like I'm here to do this, to hang out with friends and be social, and getting accomplishing accomplishing your goals and winning matches is just a byproduct of my intentions of going to the match, which I don't think are the same for other high level shooters. There's some guys that are just in and out of the range day in, day out. Their only thing is I want to go win nationals. And yes, I want to win nationals too, and I'm working towards that. And I still go and practice, but if I'm not having fun doing this, then I don't really see the point. And so if there comes to a point where competition shooting isn't fun anymore, I'm probably not going to do it.
Yeah.
And that's not a common mindset, but it takes a lot of the pressure away. Just because like if you think about it, scores really don't matter. What matters is like the relationships you built on the range, the people you're with, or like the confidence in your concealed carry and like defending yourself. Where, like I said before, like I feel confident picking up any gun at this point and being able to make accurate shots with it. And like that is worth way more in my mind than a title. I mean, national title's cool. It's cool to say.
Right.
National champion, sure.
Pretty cool.
But it's not everything. And not everybody's going to be that. There's only one per division per year. Yeah. So it's like the real success comes from just making those relationships, having fun, and we all want to do better. So as you progress and you do start winning some stuff, that's just an extra bonus on top of it all.
Absolutely. Yeah. I appreciate this because it kind of feels like permission to have fun when you hear that from someone like you, a grandmaster. When you say, like it's the only reason to do it, or like I wouldn't do it if I didn't enjoy it. It's almost this form of validation that I know I need, and I feel like a lot of people need out there. I remember I have to kind of be careful when I talk about certain people, but I remember someone who was teaching me USPSA related techniques. I went and shot a match and we squatted together, and watching him shoot a match was stressful. I was like, man, like, do I need to be that in my head? Like, I was actually just having fun, and it was a match that I was with Lisa, so we were like just on cloud nine, like being able to shoot together. Yeah, like that's just the best feeling in the world. Then this person that I look up to, high level shooter, is like grunting anytime something doesn't go well, and almost like you could almost tell he was like annoyed with Lisa and I having a good time. And we chatted a lot after that competition. She and I was like, dude, were we being, inappropriate? Like, were we laughing too loud? Were we, did we paste our targets like we were supposed to? Like what was up? And she was like, no, like we did fine. Like, and we just had so much fun, and definitely had to like think about like, what did I do? I definitely like blamed myself. But like other matches I've been at with her or other friends, where we're all having a good time. Like everyone in the squad is having a good time. No one's upset. No one's grunting.
That's
and like the energy is just different. Say it again.
Yeah. That's where the magic happens.
Yes. Right.
When
everyone's just flowing.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. That is my goal for every major match, that like I want to be the glue for our squad to make that energy happen, because everybody shoots better. And the tryhards, it's not fun. And like we IPSC nationals last year in the rain. I shot 18 matches, sun up to sundown in the rain. It was miserable. Okay, like soaking wet,
Wow.
like every step, water just coming through your boots. Targets have plastic bags on them. Your optics are getting wet. Like my hands were pruned by the end of the day,
Oh, I bet.
which like affects the grip on your gun. And there's people on the squad that are like, this is the most fun I've had at a major match, simply because our squad, we were all working together to like get the stage reset, and like someone would have like a 50-second run on a 20-second stage, and we were all hyping that person up, being like, that second target array when you went paper steel paper, you crushed that, man.
Yes,
And like
yes.
hyping him up, and like everybody's high-fiving, and it's like, he's probably a mid-pack or lower pack shooter, and overall the stage wasn't that impressive, but it was the best that he could shoot, and we recognized that, and so we were hyping him up on it, and we were all just having fun, even though it was literally the worst conditions I've ever shot in. And it's a similar result where you can just help people get out of that slump. And when people are like, especially if they're like cursing under their breath mid stage, I know they're not
Yes.
focused.
Absolutely.
They got out of their zone, and it's important to stay in that flow state while you're shooting. And so even if you have a little hiccup or something, like it happens, I have hiccups all the time, and top shooters do too.
Absolutely.
Like we rarely shoot a perfect match, like almost nobody does. And so it's just, you got to roll with the punches. And so I would find people that you get to be on cloud nine with. So like when you and Lisa are doing your thing and having fun and laughing, that's what it's about. And just like you said, your results will show it too, because you're not as worried about what's happening, because you're in the moment, and you're in a positive state of mind, and that positivity is like worth its weight in gold,
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. And one of my favorite matches, I think I've said this on the podcast before, was when I shot with Lena Michalik. We got like food for a charcuterie board, and we put it in a bag, and we ate between every stage. And I remember on my way to the match with her, I was like, Sofia, like, you gotta be focused. Like, this is Lena. Like, she's focused. She's, world champion. She's going to be like dialed in. She was so much fun. Like, not that she wouldn't have been fun dialed in, obviously, and not saying she wasn't dialed in, but she was like the perfect balance, like such a good representation of everything. Chatted with everyone in the squad. A lot of people came up to meet her and chat with her, and just kind of watching her handle that was very, very encouraging. And we had that like nice little balance of everything, and also eating between every stage was such a good idea. Our blood sugar was like very level,
just steady. Yeah.
I like meats and
noshing,
cheeses.
just a little snacks,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
I've played with that a lot too.
Tell us.
Some matches I've shot fasted where I don't eat until I'm done shooting.
Really?
Or like and typically in the mornings, that's what I found I like to do, especially for the super early starts. I don't eat till later in the day anyways, but so if it's like at Mystery Mountain, first shot was at 6:50 a.m. Brutal.
Okay. Yeah.
And we were done by I think we were done by like 11 for the AM schedule.
Wow.
Well, like, I'm not going to eat. It's fine.
Yeah.
And so like just coffee, but I think hydration is the number one key, and electrolytes. And so like I'll have whatever, choose your poison for electrolyte drink the night before. And so I don't know, let's say like 6-7 o'clock at night, I will try to drink like one of these like big basic girl mugs of electrolytes,
Yeah.
Shout out to Pelican and Cat. But get the electrolytes in your system, like max them out.
Yeah.
So you're hydrated for the next day, because and it's important to hydrate before the match and not during the match too. So like, hydration's key. Food is questionable. And then if I'm doing afternoon, I eat light. So I never want to feel full, and I never want to feel hungry. It's just like whatever I need to eat, and as well as I can, I try to just like not eat junk for the match, So right now my biggest vice are those Quest protein chips. Those
Yeah,
things
yep.
are deadly, but I like
Not
eating
bad.
junk food, and those are like, it's kind of junk food, but it's protein, so it's fine. But like
Right.
berries, big fan of berries during matches and
Mhm.
stuff. But don't use your hands because they're covered in lead, and you'll get high lead count, and you got to watch that,
Yes.
especially if you're shooting a lot. So I just kind of eat it. I just
Absolutely.
bring it to my mouth like a little trough, and no one wants to share with me for some reason. But
So weird.
um,
That's so weird.
so weird. Or one of my buddies here, he brings chopsticks. And so he eats all of his food with chopsticks because he doesn't want lead touching his food. And
I'm
and he's
stealing that.
yeah, and he's not Asian. He's just white. And he's like, yeah, I
Right,
just have
right.
my. And he got he shoots an infinity, and he got matching chopsticks to his open gun.
Oh, hell
I'm like,
yeah.
you bougie mofo, you know. But
That's hilarious.
maybe if I was shooting like $11,000 infinity, I'd also get some custom chopsticks. But
Yeah, of
either way,
course. Yeah. Yeah.
but just kind of finding that balance of not hungry, not full. Because if like I've had some matches where like they serve like burgers for lunch, and then we all have like burgers and fries, and then you go to the afternoon session. I'm like, I want to take a nap, dude.
Yep.
I'm out of it.
That would do
Um,
it.
or there was one match where like everybody got sick, and
Really?
something wasn't right, and we all were just not feeling good, and so we got through it. But it was definitely
Yeah.
not the same, and so I typically just like to bring my own food, keep it clean, protein
For
bars. I like
sure.
jerky. Jerky's a big one. Just get that
Mhm.
protein in.
Yeah. Probably
I'll
like a
make my own
stick, right?
jerky.
And that way you can hold it and like you don't have to like grab it out of a
Yeah,
bag
so I
like a jerky
um
stick.
I haven't done it this year yet, but there's a lot of times last year I'd just make my own jerky. And
That's
so I just bring a
awesome.
little Tupperware thing. Really easy to
Yeah.
make too. Tons of recipes online for whatever flavor you want, but just good food, healthy food,
Yeah.
energy, energy. No
Absolutely.
nachos.
Absolutely.
Nachos mid match probably not going to be your best bet, but
For sure.
it does affect
Dates are
it,
a good one
and
too.
I like dates. A
Good.
little sweet treat, a little natural sweet treat for you.
Exactly. Mhm.
But yeah, just not anything too heavy, and just making sure that like you the listener and like you and me, we're all going to know our own bodies better
Mhm.
than us telling them anything. And so
Yep.
just like whatever you're used to, like I have a friend that just pounds candy all match. He needs to have like sour straws or nerd clusters or whatever.
Mhm.
And that's just his thing. And he likes having the candy. And so he's
Pounds
just,
candy, yeah.
yeah, just like he has a whole, uh, the little pouches in the Savior range
Yes.
bags, just like the
Uh-huh.
little clear zipper ones, full
Yeah.
of candy, whole match,
That's
and he's just
awesome.
snacking,
Yeah.
always eating candy. But
Nice.
figure out what works for you too, and like you can
Yeah.
experiment with it, or like I've found sometimes if I'm empty stomach in the morning, like if I have too much caffeine, I can get a little
Mhm.
shaky. Um,
Yes. Yeah, I
and
made
or
that
if you're getting
mistake.
tired in the afternoon, like have an energy drink ready, or like some cold brew or something to like just boost you up a little bit, and try to anticipate when you're going to be tired. So like instead of being like, wow, I bonked out and I don't want to shoot, that's the worst time to have it. Like you want to
Yes.
like preemptively have it so it hits your system. And then at PCSL championship last year, Make Ready
Mhm.
Nutrition was one of the sponsors. They have
Oh, cool.
supplements and stuff.
Yeah, I've
They
heard
have
about
canned
them.
energy drinks, and we made a reel where I like stabbed the energy drink with a knife
Oh,
and then
hell yeah.
shotgunned it while someone like just started shooting. Awesome clip for the content. But again, we're having fun.
That's awesome.
And I was like 5 shooters down, I think. And it was in
Nice.
the morning. And my AR is really heavy. I shoot like a tactical rifle for competition. It's got like an IR laser on it and a flashlight and a suppressor. And
Oh,
it's
yeah.
LMT. It weighs like 13 pounds. It's a
Dang.
beast.
Okay. Wait,
And
that's
we had,
actually very heavy. I learned that recently. My rifle's 8 pounds, and I'm like
yeah.
shaking by the time I've like
Mm-hmm.
trained and then got up to shoot it. So that's
It's a lot.
impressive. Dang.
And it's the same gun like I train law enforcement with, the same gun I go out and do night
Ah,
vision shooting with.
okay.
And so I was like, I just want to get proficient with a gun. Like, shit hits the fan. Like that's the gun I'm grabbing out of the safe, you know?
Yeah, for
And
sure.
so I've just kind of stayed pretty true of shooting that. But anyways, shotgun it, caffeine dump, 5 shooters down. That was just enough time for it to like hit my bloodstream in full. And the first 8 targets were like offhand, knockdown steel at like 65 yards, and I'm holding this 13-pound gun, and I'm just watching my reticle just move all over the place. I'm like, literally, as I'm shooting, going like, "Damn, you're dumb, dude. Why'd you shotgun that energy drink before you shot?" And there's like nothing. And we got through it. There's nothing you can really do. You just gotta shoot
Right.
it. And but I was like, "Yep, my crosshairs are moving quite a lot." And
That's hilarious.
yeah,
Yes.
but we got the content, and so
That's what matters. I mean,
yeah.
priorities. Yeah, I love a good latte with goat milk.
Mm-hmm.
So I had this like really good idea to take a goat milk latte to a match.
Take a goat with you to the range.
Exactly. Just like milk it at the stage.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep. Right in a little wagon. Yep.
Totally. Actually, no, he walks. But yeah, I see. Oh, you mean like tow wagon? Yeah, with my like cappuccino maker. Yeah. Exactly. Jackery to power it. Okay, so I did that, and the goat milk, I guess, got like warm in the sun, and that did not go well for me. So I've turned to either just black coffee or energy drinks, but I have a rule with water. Like I have to have an electrolyte filled water. And what you said about hydration the night before is so true. My master's in kinesiology, and we talked about this a lot. Yeah. Thank you. And we would talk about like hydration occurring before, and like it's so hard to remember that. So I love that you brought that up. It's so real. This is not a topic we've had on this podcast, by the way. I love that we're on to like competition snacks. Yeah, this is great.
Yeah,
for sure.
But it's a real thing though. Like I don't. There's some guys I know that just get absolutely tanked and just drink heavy every night of a match because it's like their social time to go out. And I was like, I don't know how you operate. I'm just
like before the match.
No, like, so they'll shoot day one, go to the restaurant, like everybody's eating, and then just get absolutely tanked.
Gosh.
And then just sleep, whatever, wake up, and then go shoot. I'm like, why? And they're like, oh, like, my goal isn't to do well at the match, it's just to survive.
Okay.
And I was like, got it. So this is how you stay in your zone, is just being miserable. But hey, it worked for some people, and you'd be surprised, because there's some top shooters that can just put it down, but either way, it's just it does affect you. Sleep is another huge one too.
Okay.
And I am guilty of not do as I say, not as I do. But
got it.
Because I'm a night owl, and so like those morning starts sometimes are brutal for me. Where I'm like, oh, the 6:50 a.m. first shot, I like had to, that was a 4:45 morning for me, and I'm always up till like midnight, 1 a.m., whatever. And so I was just like, my body's like, I want to stay up. I was like, no, you need to go to sleep. And I'm just racing, and there's a million things I'm thinking about. And so, but sleep is huge, where even like today I was like feeling tired, and I was going to force myself to go practice. And then I was like, is it even worth it? Like, are those rounds going to be good rounds that you're going to shoot down range? Or are you just going to go through the motions of doing it? And in my mind, I was like, you know what? I've got stuff to do in the shop, and I'll just dry fire a little bit. And the range has been closed because we had like torrential downpour here. So it's been closed for like 4 days. So I'd have to drive to the desert. And it's just like a little extra process to the whole ordeal, where it's like, a 2-hour range session turns into like a 3.5-hour range session. I was like, I don't know. I don't know if we're going to spend all that time to go do it when I'm feeling tired. And again, it's just knowing your own body more than anything else. But however much sleep your body requires, like I have some friends, 5 hours, they're good for the day. Right. Don't know how they do it. Good for them. Yep. I'm like around 7. And so if I get like a solid 7, I'm feeling good. If I can majors, I try to give myself an extra buffer zone just in case. Cause like there's been matches where like the hotel's bad, or like there's some other reason why you can't sleep that well. Like Nationals 2022, I was gonna stay in my truck because I have a big camper on the back of my truck, and I like overland to do all that stuff. I was gonna sleep in my truck for Nationals, and then it was like supposed to rain and stuff, and I was like, that sounds miserable. I don't want to be like wet and sleeping in my truck.
Yeah.
All the hotels were booked already.
Oh shoot.
So I piggybacked with my buddy who had like 2 beds, but the hotel was just like full, like it just smelled like mildew. And I was
Rusty.
like, this is terrible. I was like, do I
Yeah.
just sleep in the parking lot in my truck? And we were kind of in a sketchy area because he didn't
Yeah.
research beforehand. And I was like, it
Mm,
was the worst sleep I've gotten for a major.
so
Because
sorry.
like you just wake up with a headache. Like as soon as you walk in the building, you're just like, oh, this is terrible.
Oh yeah.
And getting you out of that fun zone because you have to deal with mold. But
Right.
sleep is huge.
Yeah.
Hydration is huge. Snacks are important. And just
Yeah.
finding that balance so you're just optimized because like you will like it doesn't matter like how much you practice and stuff if you are not up to like if you can't think there's no point doing
Mm-hmm.
it because it is just it's all thinking, it's all processing.
Mm-hmm.
So if your brain's not firing on all cylinders, it's a detrimental to whatever you're doing. So
Mm-hmm.
or like I was like, oh, people tell me that they've stayed up all night dry firing right before a match, and I was like, dude, your reload's not going to change over a 12-hour period. Whatever your reload is going to be your reload skill, or your
Right.
draw or whatever it is. And like dry firing a little bit every day is going to do a lot more than a big volume of dry fire right before it happens, and losing sleep over it. I'm like,
Yes.
it's just dumb. It's just,
Yeah.
and
It's like test
so just
cramming.
yeah, it doesn't work.
Same
Although
concept.
I was a big procrastinator when I was in school. Got good
Get
grades,
that.
but it was fine. And you know what? Good things come with time, so procrastination is a virtue, right? But
Absolutely. Yeah. When you say it like
yeah,
that, for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hey, I did
But
that forever. And I realized that did not cut it when I got to biochem honors classes because there was just too much information. I
I
was one
applaud
of
you for getting through that.
thank you. Oh, I barely got through it.
But
If
you got
you
through
want,
it. That's all that matters. No
that's
one's
a good
asking for your
point.
transcript now.
That's so true. I will say though, I barely passed biochem honors 2. I went to my professor and I bawled my eyes out and I was like, I need this to get into medical school.
Yeah.
And I went in there at first. He was actually working on a new model of hemoglobin protein, which we've had a model of it for years, and he found that there was like another component to its structure that was like kind of a hot take on it, but he was like really deep into it. It was his life's work. So I like read up on it, went in there and like talked to him about it for hours, and then before I left, I was like, listen, and then I just started crying, and then he gave me a passing grade. So
Cool.
and then so that was around the time I was like, oh, this does not work. Like I can't just slide by anymore. And I'm realizing it again with competition shooting. Not that like my goal is to become a GM, but recently I have been wanting to take it more seriously, and I've realized what happens when I don't sleep as well. And sleep is the same as hydration. One day of night of sleep deprivation takes 3 days to
correct
to
itself.
get back to normal. Yes,
Yeah.
my dad is actually a board certified sleep specialist, and he's
That's
like
cool.
a triple boarded cardiologist, internal medicine, and sleep doctor. He'll
Has he
come
been
on the
on the
podcast
podcast
someday.
yet?
No, you just read my mind. He's actually coming on soon. I'm setting up a studio in my office, so he's going to be one of the first people in person.
That's awesome. That'd be
thank you.
super interesting. I'd be in for that for sure.
Hell yeah. Okay, I'll make sure you know about it when it comes out. But yeah, he's excited about it too. But he always reminds me when I don't sleep well, he's like, Sofia, it takes 3 days. And I'm like, I know, Dad. Like I'm in debt. I'm in sleep debt right now.
Yeah.
And he'll be like, yeah, you are. So I'm glad
I
you're
heard that
talking about
naps help
this.
though. Like you could get out of debt by taking a little siesta in the day.
They can,
Like-
and there's like a magic formula to that. It's like 20 minutes or something. I haven't looked into that recently, so couldn't offer
There
any.
was a couple weekends ago, just I ran myself completely exhausted and like just all the stuff going on during the week. Then like drove up to Phoenix and had some meetings and stuff, and then shot a match. Stayed at my buddy's house, shot a match the next morning. And I was like tired going into Friday, like waking up Friday, I was already exhausted. I was like, wow, I have to like drive 4 hours a day. I have like these meetings. I have a match I need to shoot, all this stuff. And then I came home Saturday. I was like, cool. I had like a dinner or something that night. I was like, I have like 4 hours that I can get like this other stuff done. Cause like I work for myself. So I always feel like I need to be working, and like the to-do list is never ending. So I was like, oh, I can pack belt orders, or I can answer these emails, or whatever, whatever's on the list. And so I was like, but I'm gonna take just like a little 20-minute nap first because I'm feeling tired, and I had to drive from Phoenix back to Tucson. It was like 2 hours, and I was exhausted. And then I ended up sleeping for 5 hours and waking up 10 minutes before the dinner. And I was like, oh, I need to
There it
listen to my
goes.
body a little bit more. Yep, and
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was just it's a little much. And so just finding that balance and um, that leads into like major match prep as well,
Mm.
where leading up to major matches. Uh, I I try to set myself up to do whatever I want. So if I want to go work out, I'll go work out. If I want to be lazy and eat popcorn and watch Netflix, I'll be lazy and eat popcorn and watch Netflix. But the biggest thing leading up to a match, like I have IPSC Nationals, not this weekend, but the next weekend. It's
Mhm.
probably already been shot by the time you post this podcast, but like probably starting on like Wednesday, I'm just gonna not stress about anything and just do. I mean, like I'll get my stuff done. You have to get your responsibilities done, whatever that is.
Mhm.
But as far as my choice of free time, or it's like if I want to go practice, I'll go practice. If I want to be a couch potato, I'll go be a couch potato. If I want
Mhm.
to tinker with my guns, I'll go tinker with my guns. But it's just getting yourself in a relaxed state where you're just feeding into your um, desires. I guess
Mhm.
I don't
Mhm.
know if that's the right word, but either way, it's just
Yeah.
like you're whatever you want to do, just do that, and
Yeah.
you're going to be happy. You're going to be more relaxed, and I think it's good preparation for it. Rather than before, I'd be like, I need to shoot 500 rounds a day for 3 weeks leading up to the match, every single day, and like,
Mhm.
regardless of how I feel, I need to go shoot it because I don't know how I'm going to feel at the match. So if I'm tired, I need to shoot tired, so I know how to feel shooting tired. If it's raining, I need to go shoot raining. And like the other day, it was like raining here on and off, and it was like kind of chilly for Arizona. Like, I don't want to go practice.
Mhm.
And just
Mhm.
I'm sure there's some other GM that's being like, that's wrong mindset. But again, I just want to be
Right.
relaxed. I want to feel good about myself, and it's like, and I don't want to stress. Just minimizing stress because that does just it's so detrimental on your body. And like being dehydrated causes stress on your body. Being sleep deprived causes stress on your body. Depending on the food you're eating, can cause stress on your body or artificial stress that you're just making on yourself, where you're giving yourself this requirement to go shoot, even though like you don't want to go do that or something.
Right.
But it feeds in a lot to just that natural state of your body of doing what you want, and you're probably going to do better because you just feel better. You don't have as much cortisol in your system, and you're
Mhm.
just living life, whatever you want to
Yeah.
do. Like maybe I'll
Absolutely.
make a cheesecake, whatever.
Yeah. Obviously, yes. I
Hmm.
love that. I love that you value recovery. It sounds like one word you were describing was recovery, and also
Yeah.
just like listening to your body, like you said before. It I can't imagine that there is a cut and dry way to do all of this, but what you've done for yourself obviously has worked for you. So
Hmm.
if anything, someone's listening that maybe is on that extreme and they're like, shoot, no matter what. But you're
Yeah.
offering this other side and
Yeah.
um, helping them find that balance. And that's what's important. So
Life is all about balance.
hell
That's
yeah.
I think that'd be a good segue into talking about shooting and practicing.
Yes,
Okay, so
please.
yeah,
Absolutely.
so
Go
that's
for it.
that's kind of where I categorize my range sessions in, where I have some range sessions where I'm practicing, some range sessions where I'm shooting. And the biggest difference is like your intended purpose of what you're going to the range for. Practice, I am working on skills and fundamentals that I pulled from a match, and I'm focused on something very specific and certain metrics that I'm working towards. Where shooting is just like mag dumping into trash and having fun. And I think a lot of people think they're practicing, but they're really just shooting. And that I see it a lot when people set up a full stage for practice and they run through that stage 12, 14 times or whatever it is, and they're like, this is a good practice session, but it's like, what'd you really accomplish?
Mm.
You just shot a stage. That's fun. That's just shooting. And like I have my FFL SOT and stuff, so I've got machine guns in the safe and everything. And so like I absolutely love just having a big thing full of ammo, loading up mags, and just dumping them into targets or whatever we're doing, and it's just fun. Machine guns are great;
Hmm.
it's just a good time. Um, but it's about the balance between the two, where I definitely probably fall more into the practice session of sides just due to time constraints right now, where I'm like, okay, I
Yeah.
have time to shoot, I should go do it. But even on days where it might be that day where I don't want to go practice, but I'm open to still go shooting. Like my desire might be like, you know what, I am going to go to the range with 300 rounds, and I'm only going to do plate racks today. And that's a little bit of a blend because like I'm sure you're picking up some stuff, but um, I'm just like in my mind, I'm like, I'm just having fun. Like, I don't care if I miss a plate. I'm gonna try to do a sub two plate rack or faster or whatever it is. Or maybe I'm just gonna go have a day of build drills because build drills are fun. Maybe try some different distances out. But I might not have that intention set for the practice that I'm doing, or have necessarily like an actual purpose behind it where um, like what we mentioned earlier with the matches where you recognize where you had some shortcomings and where you can like it's like low hanging fruit for you. Like for me, it was the moving steel, um, or like my reloads were kind of sloppy, and like that can be fixed in dry fire. So I was like, there's no reason I should have a sloppy reload on a stage. Like that is inexcusable. And so just making sure that you're going to the range with purpose, with intention. Like I try to think of the drills that I'm going to go shoot for whatever skill set I'm working on before going to the range. Like, so it's not
Mm-hmm.
impromptu. So I was like, I need to do this and I can do this drill for that. And I can do that and I have this drill for that. And just kind of play with it. And it's not really a specific set of drills. It's just as you start shooting more and shooting more matches, you can just kind of set up your own drills that will replicate whatever you need to practice. But that's a big distinction of getting better at shooting is having that purpose behind the gun. Um, and that was my first year shooting like 100 140 matches, 150 matches. That was all purposeful shooting because I'm shooting matches. And I had less practice rounds downrange than I had match rounds downrange. And
Yeah.
because I'd only practice like it'd be like post match, and I'm just like messing around on stage for a couple mags or something like that on a single target. Like I'm like, oh, I don't know. I didn't even know what I was working. I didn't have the vocabulary to articulate what I was practicing at that time. I just
Hmm.
knew I needed to do that to get better. Like I was shooting
Okay.
doubles, but I didn't know it was called a doubles drill. But I
I
was like
see. I see.
figuring out how to track my sight without knowing that that's what I was doing. I just knew that like, oh, my sights, like my red dot is moving all over the target. I'm like, I have to figure out how to keep that dot to come back down to the same spot. So I just go out there and start like messing with my grip or trigger press. And then I just kind of like you have a eureka moment and then you need to like hold
Mm-hmm.
on to that. You need to
Mm-hmm.
capture it and make it part of you because figuring out how to do it right is a light bulb moment that if you know how to replicate is just going to excel you so fast. And so a lot of people when they first start shooting out, they're just going through the motions,
Mm-hmm.
drawing their gun, going through the targets, going through the minutia of it, but not focused on what they're actually doing. Shot calling is a great exercise to improve that. So you shoot a target, and then if you're practicing with somebody, you have another target like where you're shooting at, and you point where your shots are on the target, and then you go compare it. If you want to get like it's a little bit slower, but like you can literally draw it on the target if you want, or put a paster on where you think that you hit. But we'll usually just point it, and I'm usually only doing that for like Charlies and Deltas if I get them, where I'm
Right.
like I have a Charlie like 2 inches outside of the right side of the alpha zone, like a third of the way down the target or something, and figure out where that's at. And when you can start that shot calling process, just helps you stay in focus because now uh, you're wagering with yourself or your friend if you did it right or not, and it's a hard skill. It's one of the last skills I think that people acquire shooting. But once you can start shot calling, it'll make you so much more accurate because you just understand what's going on with your gun. And I'm calling the shots just based on the recoil of the gun. So like how that gun feels in my hand and what my sight did looking through it, I have a good idea of where my round was on the target. Rather than I used to think shot calling was literally like looking at your target and seeing the hole. And I was like, these guys are shooting, point 1/5 of a second. How are they seeing their hole on the target at 15 yards? I'm like, oh, you're not actually seeing it. You're feeling it,
Right.
and just on like the reaction of your gun.
I have a question about that. When
Mhm.
I started shooting, I was really lucky to have Chris Long of Walther actually. It was the first time I shot the PDPF. We did a shot calling exercise, and so having that like super early on was interesting. As far as how that applies to USPSA, I almost feel silly asking this, but I'm just going to go for it.
Yeah,
Um,
there's
is
no
that
stupid questions.
I appreciate that. It's a good reminder.
Yeah,
Is that to kind of prevent what is it called? Not
confirmation.
overcalling. Yes, over
Oh,
confirmation.
yeah. Um, yes and no. It definitely
Okay.
helps build confidence. Actually, yeah, I guess just in short, yes, it does. It prevents overconfirmation
Can you define
because,
that for people that don't know what that is,
yeah,
please?
overconfirmation is keeping your gun on a target after you shot it to confirm with yourself that whatever you shot was correct or accurate. And so for a lot of people, especially red dot shooters, they will shoot and wait for that dot to return to the same zone that they were shooting. So they will fire, they'll watch the dot leave the window, come back into the window, and they like pause for just like a, a portion of a second, a fraction of a second of just that, like, okay, my dot returned to the same spot. I can move now. Um, when it should really be happening before that, before that before the gun's coming all the way back down to target. You should be able to feel how it's moving in your hands. Where like I also believe in shooting the same platform until you've mastered your skill
Mm,
level, because you get to really understand what's like. You get to understand what's going on, because you have so many rounds to the gun. Like I've shot the M&P9 now for like 4 years. I probably have 250,000 rounds through it. Absolutely love the gun. Um, but I can shot call better than any other gun because I know that gun inside and out is an extension of my body. When my hands grip it, like everything's just locked into place. It's good to go. And it translates to other guns, but I have a lot of friends that chase splits or chase accuracy by switching platforms frequently. Like every 3 to 6 months, they're like, I just need to get this steel frame gun and I'm going to be a better shooter.
yeah.
Actually, this has a better grip angle, and that's going to help me acquire my sights faster on target. And
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff doesn't matter. All the guns on the market right now are phenomenal. Like sure, there's a couple bad guns, but generally speaking, they are all awesome and they're reliable and they have good triggers in them or options to put good triggers in them. So like whether you're shooting a PDP, like the PDP dynamic,
Q5
what's the
steel
trigger
frame.
called?
Oh,
The
ah,
dynamic trigger.
I should know this.
Whatever it is, but like the dynamic trigger and the Walthers, the
Okay.
Canik rival triggers, the Apex M&P triggers, the shadow triggers on the CZ guns, like they are phenomenal. Like I would argue they rival like 2011 and 1911 triggers in a striker
Mm,
fire platform. But just whatever, like you don't need new gear to compete well. Like I've seen guys come through with a Springfield XD that just absolutely shred because that's the gun they're used to shooting and that's the gun they know. And once you've mastered it on one gun, it's easier to translate it to another gun and figure out where you need to put the pressures on the grip or like how the sights track. But stick with one platform, understand it inside and out, and understand exactly how that gun feels. Like I'll know just on how my slide's moving when I need to replace the recoil spring. Just because it's like, oh, it
wow.
feels a little bit snappier. I'm like, and I'll play a game. I've played this game with some shooters here in Tucson where I keep literally just a bag of recoil springs on deck at all times because
Nice.
um,
Okay.
I shoot a lighter spring and the M&Ps don't like when it gets too light. And I'll play
Mm,
a game now where I am basically calling how many coils my recoil spring has shrunk based on how it feels. And
wow.
so
That's pretty cool.
that's been a recent game, but it's like, okay,
Nice.
I bet this is like a coil and a half, and then I'll take it out, then compare it to a fresh spring. I've
Right.
been pretty accurate, not to my own horn, but pretty good just based on feel. And but again, it's just understanding that platform and translating that to the shot calling, just helps you understand where those hits are. And then
Mm-hmm.
the next part of that is why. Why did your shots go there? What input did you have on the gun that caused that to happen? Which is the hardest part to fix, because once you know how to self-diagnose, things will get easier for you shooting wise.
Yeah.
But even still, there's times where I'm questioning myself shooting, where I'm like, was that my grip or was that my trigger? I don't know. Was I staring at my dot and not target focused? And like, you got to play these games with yourself. But the more accurately you can self-diagnose yourself, the better it's going to be with your results on target. And so
Absolutely.
there's few different things that go into that, but that's basically it in a long extended description of everything.
No, hey, okay. I really appreciate all of this. So I just actually went to the Taurus range day experience this past weekend. First time ever shooting Taurus. It was Caleb Gidding's goal to kind of get people like me, and actually Tessa Booth went as well. And to
be
Tessa. Like,
she's in Arizona now, isn't she?
Yes, she is.
Yeah, I think she is. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. I don't know why I doubt myself. She's moved a lot, so my brain's like, wait, hold on. But
either way,
yes, it's on her page for sure. And it was like our first time shooting Taurus, but we also had the opportunity to train under citizen defense research, and we went over a lot of fundamentals because the class spread of skills was so. Are you there? Okay, cool.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, you're fine. The class spread was pretty extreme. So going back to fundamentals on grip was insane. Like, I almost felt embarrassed by the things I learned. Like, I'm not even joking. The getting my hand like behind the grip and not just focusing on like lateral pressure, but like in the front and back plane. Oh my God. I like never truly tested that with the skills tests that we had, and it was so eye-opening. And I was able to, like, because we weren't moving, we were just standing and shooting. I haven't done a lot of static shooting in a while, and I desperately needed it. Didn't realize I did as much as I did until we did it. But what you just said was a really good reminder to like take that time, think about like where your deficits are, make a plan. And also for round count, I don't know if you like think about and plan this out, but do you ever plan what you're going to work on and then say like, I need at least 200 rounds for this training, or like maybe I'm going to conserve ammo, so I'm going to do like this much dry fire combined with live fire?
When I was first starting out, I was more conscious of that. But now I've made it a point to have just copious amounts of ammo. Shout out to Dylan Precision right behind me. But like this press right here, this is my first press. Fully set up, I was in for like about $1,000. Not bad. This probably has 100,000 rounds on it, and it's an older press. I bought it used, and then I've got. And please, everybody who's watching this on video, disregard my messy workstation right now. This one's fully automated now.
Oh,
and so there's a big motor on it and everything. And I've got videos on YouTube explaining some of this stuff, so we don't need to get heavy into it. But I have an ammo manufacturing plant right behind me. And so ammo, it's cheaper, it's better, it's more accurate, so I can shoot more of it. And I'm like, I'm going to have a reloading press. I'm going to save so much money. And it turns out you just shoot more because you have it on hand. And so now, like, I preload, like, I've got, that's too heavy for me to grab. There's like 5-gallon buckets of processed brass right here.
Oh, yeah,
tons of projectiles. Yeah. I think I got tons of primers and powder and stuff like that, but a load. And now when I go and practice, I shoot until I'm unfocused. So there's some days I've shot, and this is going to sound crazy, but like I've gone out and shot 1,500 rounds of just drills nonstop. And I'll bring like, luckily the M&Ps are cheap. I'll bring like 3 or 4 M&Ps with me because it gets so hot in the Arizona sun that I don't like heating up your gun is going to be more detrimental than a higher round count. And like, that's why the guns fail, is them heating up. More so with rifles, it kind of applies to pistols. But either way, I like to swap them out just so they don't get too hot. You know, like maybe like 4 or 5 mags of like repetitive shooting. Not like if you're 4 or 5 mags of like one shot draws, you're probably fine. But like if you're hammering some fast stuff and like a lot of repetitions of things. But anyways, I just end up shooting more, and so some days I'll go out there 1,500 rounds, nailing it, love it, it's great. Other days I'm 200 or 300 rounds in, and I'm like, I'm unfocused, I'm gonna leave, because
Okay.
again, it's keeping with like the purposeful training and the focus training and making sure that those rounds count, because at a certain point I'll just get into shooting, or I'll recognize that like my practice has now shifted into just shooting, and I'm like, what do I want to do? And I'm like, we'll do some build drills. We'll do, I don't know, some like little fun drill where I recognize that I am not practicing anymore.
Mm.
And then I usually will leave the range shortly after that, because in my mind I'm like, I'm wasting ammo. Like, I'm having fun, whatever. Again, the balance,
Right.
but I think like if you're limited with your, like if you're down to like 1,000 rounds a month, and you want to get into competition shooting, the average match is like, let's say it's 150 rounds a match. You have 2 matches to shoot, 300 rounds. You have 700 left for the month, and I'd probably divvy that up into like around 170 per practice session for 4 practice sessions. So you get like 1 practice a week, 1 match a week, or sorry, 1 practice session a week, 1 match every 2 weeks, and pre-planning your drills of what you're going to do for that. And then if you get to
Yeah.
a point where your budget allows you to have more ammo, or if like um, I miss those rebate days on like Federal's website where you get 9 for like
Mm,
13 cents a round. It seems like a
nice.
dream world now, but um, I'd also recommending bulk buying with your friends. So like if you're shooting, you probably have friends that shoot, and you can uh, like nothing stopping you from hitting up an ammo distributor and saying like, hey, like if you have 4 friends and you each want to buy 5,000 rounds, and you call a distributor and say, I want 20,000 rounds, it's usually enough for them to say, okay. They don't care. You don't need a license. I mean, in California, I think you do, but like in all the great free states of this country, you can just hit them up and buy the ammo, and it's no problem. And so
Okay.
I used to save money that way when I first started shooting, where I'd try to collect all my friends together, and we would try to get a 20,000, 50,000 round thing. And you might save 10, $20, maybe $30 per thousand, but it adds up where,
Oh yeah.
if you know that you're going to shoot and you have the capital for it, have at it,
Yeah.
save a little bit of money. And then I always tell people just to make the jump into reloading if you know you're going to be doing this for a while. And it's not just going to be like a temporary hobby, because I'm like right now I think I'm loading for like 17 cents a round, 18 cents a round. So it's more expensive than it was, but still cheaper than factory, and it's
Oh,
a
for
better
sure.
bullet. Shout out Dylan Precision. Um, but it's minimum power factor 147s. They work great in
Okay.
suppressors as well, which
Oh,
is fun.
okay.
And
Yeah, we could
but it
tag them in
just,
the show notes.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're great. There's other companies that make um, minimum power factor ammunition if you want to try it out. It's a little bit pricey compared to regular factory ammo, but like Badlands munition, um, Jello shots, Hops munition. I don't know. There's it seems like every day there's a new ammo company popping up with minimum power factor ammo, but it's fun to try it, especially if you're taking this seriously, because you will shoot this ammo and be like, "You are cheating," and I'm like, "No, I'm in the specifications of USPSA," but it does help, and it does take that recoil impulse away. It does not fix your bad fundamentals, but it will help. It'll help you stay on track,
Right.
and so it really depends, and just understand what you can afford, and if you need to pre-plan it, and if you have the luxury of just going out and shooting whatever you want, just make sure that you're not just blasting ammo and wasting it and trying to make it useful. Like, I'd rather save my like blasting ammo and mag dumping ammo for when I have a machine gun out or something, or like I took a
Yeah.
bunch of uh my business partner Chase guided these guys from Australia who have an overland channel all throughout the United States, like California, Utah, Arizona. When they came to Arizona, we blocked off half a day, and first gun they ever shot, full auto M16. like
That's
just
incredible. Yep.
it's fun, and like I'd rather save that ammo for like that experience for them, where they're probably going to
Yeah.
remember that for the rest of their lives. Where like
Oh,
they
absolutely.
just pulled up, they couldn't fathom just pulling up to a random spot in the desert out here and then just shooting a machine gun. They're like, what? Like their Australian minds could not handle it.
Right, right,
And
right.
and like we had some other fun guns out there and stuff too, but um, I think it's just important to make sure that you're um, mindful of what you're doing with your ammo. So if it's limited, um, you know, I dry fire the drills you're going to practice if you're limited to your practice sessions as well. So um, like Ben Stoger and like Wanzik and Joel Parks, they have awesome drills online that are free. A lot of their stuff, a lot of their classes are just free on YouTube if you want to take the time to sit down and listen to them and watch them. There's a lot of great instructors around the country, though. A lot of great shooters that also do training and stuff like that. Joe Farewell has a full dry fire program, which is awesome. So if you don't know how to
Hmm.
dry fire, he has a free segment of the first basic part. So like if you don't know how to do it, you just go watch his video for free, and he teaches you, and it's very intuitive and everything like that. But you dry fire the drills you're going to practice, and then you get to confirm it with your live rounds for practice, and then you get to get some other metrics from the match that you shoot if you're limited to like that 1,000 round a month thing, which is like 250 bucks a month, give or take. Or if it's less than that, you just adjust it, but you can get a lot
Right.
done with dry fire, and you don't need to be shooting.
Yeah, absolutely. That's wonderful. And just because, I do believe in the product, not just because I work for them. Livefire is an app for this as well. So Mike
Live
Sieglander
fire,
has
shout
his
out.
right.
Yeah.
He has a course for getting started with dry fire. I think and then he also has a dry fire challenge. So it's a step-by-step thing, and then you can use the in-app logbook and par timer to kind of track everything, which is
I
really
like that.
helpful. So pretty cool. The
Yeah.
community is so helpful too, like throwing up questions in
There's,
on the
there's like
feed.
forums and people can answer them and everything.
It's actually its own social platform.
Oh, cool.
Right when Instagram started, kind of Meta in general started censoring things a lot more recently, we switched our focus from training to kind of social, and then we maintained training on the side. So now it's like a 50-50 split.
That's
And
awesome.
the social side is completely free. The only thing
Yeah.
you have to pay for is the training, because we believe in training our paying our instructors. So we have like Langdon
Absolutely.
Tackle on there and JJ
Love,
Rakaza.
yeah.
Some really great
That's
names.
awesome.
So you should
Yeah.
hop on there too. We just
I'm gonna check
released
it out. I'm
instructor.
gonna check it. I
Do
was
it.
literally I was answering, or I was talking to myself in my head, being like, I'm gonna check this out after the podcast, just because,
Absolutely.
just
Let's
like
have a
seeing
post
it.
show
And
chat
ooh,
about
okay.
that.
Yeah.
Some stuff we can talk about for you.
Sure.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like
Absolutely.
specifically you. But yeah, if anyone's
Yeah.
interested in that, I will be sure to link it in the show notes along with the other resources you mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all great. There's so many good resources out there, and there's so many
Yes.
knowledgeable people that this is literally the best time to get into shooting.
Yeah.
Of like, I'd argue like any other time, because you can find a lot of the information out there, and it's cool. Like I didn't I was self-taught for a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
and I didn't even know how to look it up. I didn't even know
Hmm.
what to search to get started.
Yeah.
And I feel like in 2019 there wasn't as many podcasts either. So like it wasn't reaching as many people. Like I remember listening to like Tim Herron's podcast and like some three gun podcasts, but like there wasn't a lot on competition shooting or just people interviewing shooters for that much. And so now it's amazing that you have this resource for people that they can tune
Thank
in and
you.
listen, learn some stuff, hear about snacks, hear about shooting and
Yes.
stuff like that.
So important.
But it's a great time to be a new shooter. And
Completely
like I would
agree.
be very excited if I were you right now, because you have um like you have like big gains to make right off the bat, and like the chart is like this very steep line, and then once you hit a certain point it gets a lot um like a lot shallower of an angle. I'm blanking on a word.
Uh,
um
Less steep.
Less steep. What's the opposite of steep?
Oh my god.
What's wrong with us? um
A steep curve versus a
Not steep curve. I don't know what it is. This is gonna bug me so much. We're not
You just
this dumb, okay? We
no,
read.
it's because okay, yeah, sometimes. So like slope is a continuum, so you have negative positive slope. So you're just saying a less positive slope.
Yeah.
Like that's
So like a
mathematically
shallow,
accurate.
yeah, like a shallow slope. I feel like shallow. Anyways, whatever it is, it doesn't matter.
It's fine.
Yeah, someone correct us, make fun of us on Instagram in our stories, and tell us what the right word is.
Do
If you
it.
made it this far, hats off to you. Are you looking it up?
Google doesn't even know. What do you
Good.
call a slope that is not steep? Selected answer is gentle slope.
Gentle slope.
That's
So in
definitely
your
not what I
progression,
was.
you will have a steep slope, and then you'll hit a point where you'll have a gentle slope
Exactly.
of progression.
Yeah,
Yes. And that's the
yeah.
official Google answer.
Yeah.
But
Sorry. Other words are flat, level, easy, gentle, gradual, moderate, slight.
I think moderate would have been good, or
I like
slight.
moderate.
Moderate seems official and scientific.
Gentle feels condescending.
Yeah, it's like, hey, buddy, okay,
Yeah.
settle down.
Kind of rude.
Settle down. How you doing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't talk about my gentle slope. You're a gentle
Yeah.
slope. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I love it. That should
For
be
sure.
that should be your coupon code for people for the belts.
Oh yeah.
We haven't talked
Hey,
about them yet, but
it's
we'll
on my
probably
list.
just
Don't worry.
we'll
But
probably
hey,
gentle slope. Use code gentle slope at checkout. It honestly can be anything. It could be she shield.
I think we should do gentle slope.
Okay, I'm game for gentle slope.
Because if people are going to listen to this, there's this podcast I listen to called My Favorite Murder.
Ooh.
And instead of, it's so good. It's true crime, but it's more like storytelling as opposed to like people just jabbering the whole time. I love those two, but every episode title is a joke from the episode. So you have to listen to the episode to learn where the title came from.
Ooh.
And it's hilarious. It's like a little like, I don't know, it's like a little, not puzzle piece, but, you know, game you play when you listen. You're like listening for the title. So I love that. I think that is hilarious.
Gentle slope. That's what it is. Free shipping off the belts. Hold on,
Exactly.
Let me get a belt so we can talk about it.
Yeah, please do. I was about to say this is a perfect segue into kind of how you balance things for concealment.
Yes. Okay. Boom. Here it is.
All right,
Constantine
let's do
carry belt. It's all form. For those of you who are only listening, I'm holding a EDC belt that incorporates a stretchy material and a rigid scuba webbing front that allows you to conceal carry with comfort. Constantine conceal carry belt.
Exactly.
But it has been way more popular than I thought. There are thousands of these on the market now. And I made this belt because I didn't find anything comfortable and I found myself not carrying. And I think it's important for us as American citizens to support the Second Amendment and exercise your rights. And you should be carrying everywhere that allows you to. And if this wasn't a recorded podcast and it wasn't me speaking and this was a hypothetical, you could carry everywhere you want as long as you're not a little... I don't want to swear. I was going to swear, but we're going to keep it PG.
You can. I've sweared like 5 times, so it's fine.
Oh, okay. Well, you can carry in all 50 states if you're not a little bitch. Okay. So, but one thing that's great about this belt is that you can wear it without belt loops. So, like Brittany's worn it in dresses.
Yes.
I think she talked about it when she was on here a little bit, and like competing in dresses and stuff. But like leggings and stuff like that too. I'm usually I'm in joggers right now, like joggers or athletic shorts. And I found myself not carrying or doing off-body carry, which is not fast, or like it can be fast if you practice enough, but I'm inherently lazy, so I don't practice drawing out of a fanny pack or backpack. So I want to make a belt, solves all your problems, and it's comfortable. And so you can wear this belt all day long. There's no hot spots on your hips, your lower back, or anything like that. I've carried like big 2011s with spare mags and flashlights and stuff, so it can hold like 4.5 pounds of gun in place, no problem. And it's the most comfortable belt on the market. And it's probably bad on my business part, but I over-designed these to last like 7. My expected life on these belts are like 7 to 9 years.
Damn.
And so I have a prototype, and the elastic is going on 5 years old now, and still has the same stretch that I had, or similar. But I had that belt for three-ish years, 2.5-ish years. I don't actually have an exact date, but somewhere in that time frame before I even brought the belt to market, because I was testing it. I had some close friends test it. And some similar concepts came out during that time, but just not executed as well. And so there's a piece of metal strip in the front of this. So like I could bend this belt and it will stay bent. Well, there's some good light. But what that does is that allows you to, it kind of bends to where your gun is, bends to where your hip bones are. So this like form fits to the front of your body, and then the stretch does everything it needs in the back of it. And so
Love that.
it's awesome. I compete in this belt. Sometimes accidentally when I forget my competition belt, I'm like, oh, we're going concealed today.
Ooh, yeah.
But I have found myself
Awesome.
carrying more frequently just by switching to a more comfortable belt, because I was having issues with some of the ratchet systems and some like the heavier leather belts where my hips would just be on fire by the end of the day. And like I'd get like lower back pain or like psoas muscle
Yes.
pain and stuff like that. And I realized I wasn't concealed carrying because I wasn't comfortable. And so I was like, there's a solution right there. I bought competitors' belts before I developed this that I thought would solve the problem, and it didn't. So I was like, all right, I just have to make it myself. And then I think a lot of people bought the belt at first just to like support me, because like it's like always support your homies, like buy
Right.
friends with gun companies. Like I don't ask for free product from them or anything. It's just like you go support them. That's what you do for your friends. And I think people did that at first when I dropped the belt, and they're like, "Oh wait, this thing's actually really nice." I'm like, yeah, that's the whole point. And so it
That's
just kind
awesome.
of grown in popularity a bit. And we have, if you just see the word belt on people's Instagram posts, it's probably this belt. And so
Absolutely.
it's been fun, and I've gotten an overwhelming amount of responses from people that told me their success stories with the belt. And I've worked in the industry for 4 years now, and I've worked on all sides of it, like dealing with influencers, myself looking for product, dealing with sales for companies, newsletter copies, product photography, whatever, you name it, I've probably done it. And the number one emails I'd get is people, or from other companies that I worked with, is people complaining something didn't work. They're not happy with something. And this is the first time out of any of the industries that I've worked in where I have people emailing me, telling me how much they like the belt, and how they're carrying more, or how it solved a certain issue for them. And that, it just makes me feel so special that I have that large of an impact on somebody's day-to-day life, all with like a little piece of elastic and scuba webbing. And it's
Yes.
really cool to see, and it makes for a safer country and safer communities and environments. And so I'm going to keep moving them and getting people to wear them, because the more you conceal carry, the safer the community is going to be. Wholeheartedly believe that,
Absolutely.
and
Oh, yes. So I'll add to that, if
yeah,
you don't mind. I just
sure,
got mine in the mail the other day. Thank you. I
awesome,
am
you're
so
welcome.
excited. I have yet to fully test it out. I got it in the mail right when I got back from the Taurus event, and I think I want to say that was Sunday, and today is Thursday. And so far I've worn it with my Filster Enigma to give more retention in like the front to back plane.
Yeah.
I've yet to test it out with a holster hooked to it, and I've yet to wear it all day. I'm really excited to like really give it a good test, but my
Sure.
initial impressions are definitely the comfort. It's one of a kind. It's like a good marriage, the perfect balance of good give and take. And I also just like, it's pretty obviously high quality. Like pretty, I didn't mean pretty in the sense that kind of, I mean like, it's, it is absolutely high quality material. And I like the measurement options and the customizability fit to yourself. That's really important to me.
Yeah.
I wear my I wear my firearm in a different location based on like how high up my pants go. So having that versatility is really nice. So I can speak to that right now. I'm excited to give it some more, to test it some more, and
And that's why I put that
really
universal slider on the back.
Yeah.
For those of you listening who can't see, the belts can be adjusted. There's going to be 4 sizes now by the time the podcast comes out, but it's all ranges, so like 34 to 30, 32 to 42, 36 to 48, and then the big sexy size, which is I think it's going to be 44 to 54.
Very sexy.
And big sexy belts. But it allows you to adjust it. So like there's also a couple different ladder loops on here. So if I'm going from wearing it in belt loops to not belt loops, I'll just simply adjust the tension by moving the hook over on the next loop. That was out of frame. But for those of you watching, there's two hooks right here, and you can adjust it. And then on the back too, where like if I've had a lot of people too buy the belt as they're on their journey to get in shape, and so they start larger and they don't need to buy a new belt as they lose weight. And retails a little bit more than the average belt on the market at $115, but it's like buy once, cry once. I probably spent like $1,600 on different gun belts when I was getting started, trying to figure out what's going to work for me. And a lot of them failed after like relatively quickly, like a year or two in. And so I was like, I don't want to have Apple or Ford's marketing plan with planned obsolescence where this belt is going to fail after some time. I want you to buy it, and I never want to hear from you again, unless you want another color or something. I don't know. But
actually, yes, that's a really good point. That's a good reason to buy another one. I love how thin it is. I've noticed, like, I'm not going to shout out any companies, but I have definitely put on a concealed carry belt before, and it has added so much bulk that it like almost defeats the purpose, in my opinion. And typically the belts have been geared towards men, but this one, and by geared towards men, I mean like my first gun belt was a Bigfoot gun belt. It is like a thick boy, and like my husband loves it for his paramedic work. Not that he carries on the job. That's none of the podcast's business, but it is like for me when I'm wearing like a flowy top and I'm like adding a belt, like that is not the most ideal belt, and it's stiff all around, and it feels like someone is like crushing my L5S1 vertebrae. It is like so uncomfortable. Nobody wants that.
And especially not me. With the elastic, I just measured it right now. It's 1/3 of an inch.
Wow.
And that's it. That is the total thickness of the belt. In the front, it's it's 1/4 of an inch front width right here. So it keeps it nice and thin. I actually have never measured that before. Podcast first, nice. Hunter Constantine belt first on Shoe
and
we'll
do a highlight. Exactly. Yeah. We'll do a highlight of this little snippet, and we'll throw Brittany's video in, and all of that can be found on the She Shield socials. So
boom. And code Gentle Slope. And I think I did it with Riley, so we got to do it. We're gonna do rock, paper, scissors.
Yes, I was about to say. Okay, I'm ready. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what you. Never mind. Okay.
I think I forget because like
you did best of 2.
2 out of 3.
Sorry. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what the discount's going to be. I think we're going to play for this. We'll do. I'll represent free shipping. You'll represent. This is going to be a first for the size of a discount code for a podcast or YouTube, 10% off. I usually do 5, so we'll do 10.
Awesome. Okay. Yay. Okay.
And it's fun for rock, paper, scissors. So
that sounds great.
Right. 2 out of 3. We'll go on shoots like rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Okay.
And I represent free shipping. You represent 10% off. This is for your listeners. No pressure.
This is so much pressure. Oh my God.
No pressure.
Okay.
Get your stage
like that
plan
guy that asked my stage plan. Exactly. I knew you were going to go there. Okay. All right. Okay.
You ready? Do you want me to tell you what I'm going to play?
Wait, is there a lag?
Well, hold on. Do this. I think we'll be fine.
Okay. Ready?
Okay. Yep. Rock, paper, scissors,
shoot. Ah, damn it. Wait, best of 3?
Best of 3. Yeah. Best of 3. Best of 3.
I had rock, he had paper. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Ready? They can't see us. That helps. All right.
Exactly.
Okay. Rock, paper,
scissors, shoot. Oh, hell yeah.
Cool.
I have rock, he has scissors. Okay.
All right, 1-1. Going into
One
the
more.
final round. Here we go. I'll let you count it off.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Rock.
Rock,
Paper.
scissors, shoot.
Oh,
Oh!
nice.
She-Shield wins!
Whoop whoop.
She had
Got you
scissors.
10%
I had
off.
paper. 10% off Constantine carry belts.
Whoop
And
whoop.
and for the
Thank you.
competition shooters out there, we also have one with Velcro now. So you can have one belt for your inner
Ooh.
belt and your EDC belt.
I think I did see that. That's awesome. I feel bad I didn't think of that, but okay.
I don't know when this is coming out, but I should have inventory by then. I'm super sold out. We redesigned some of it. And all my belts constantly go through updates as people make suggestions.
I love that. I was about to actually ask how you handle feedback. So this episode launches in 2 weeks. So
okay, perfect. I should have everything in by then. But yeah,
awesome.
I'm the only person here. I read every email.
Wow.
I package every belt. I do everything besides actually make the belts. And so I see every single email that comes in. I read like every DM. I've gotten on FaceTime with people on Instagram to help them with stuff going on. But like, I'm here for the people. And
that's awesome.
Like some people have needed like sizes swapped out and stuff like that because there's some overlap in sizes. But like I'm not here to retire off the belts. I just want more people concealed carrying. And so like if we can just get more belts out there, I'm happy. And I'm here to like answer stuff. And so a lot of the suggestions a lot of upgrades on the belt have come from user suggestions. Because like obviously I made the belt. I'm like, this thing's great. It's the best.
Amazing.
We've gone through about like 5 iterations so far since in like a year and a half. And so as more people wear it and stuff like that, like we've had I've got like a graveyard of some other belts where things have failed. But like we've changed how we stitch things. We've changed some of the materials. We've changed some of the geometry of the hardware and stuff like that. Like we switched to, if you have like an OG Gen 1, like we switched this slider. It used to get caught on your belt loops and stuff. But it's all from users of the belts. And like I just like hearing about it. I'll catch myself late on YouTube just watching some random YouTube video that someone posted on the belt, and I'll sit there and watch the whole thing and then comment on it.
That's awesome.
And like, if they got questions or whatever, like I'm here. I'm a real person. This isn't some weird large corporation or something. Like it's literally just me.
Ooh,
and so
that would be hard. I don't know. It'd be hard to like navigate that, but it sounds like you have you handle it really well.
Yeah, I just talk to everybody like how I talk to everybody else. It's there's no veil over anything.
Right.
And if you post a really creative review, it might lead you to getting a free belt.
Oh hell yeah!
There's someone who literally wrote a literary creative novel that knocked my socks off. And if you guys go find it, if you go to my website, open up reviews, and just Control F Terry Crews, the review will come up, and it's a hell of a read. It's a good one.
Terry Crews, as in like from Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
Yes. Yep. Big pecs moving.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Thank you for the visual. I didn't know what pecs moving was, so
I can't. I don't have that connection. I can't do it myself. So
I can't either. Just kidding. If you're listening and you want to see this episode, probably kind of a late time to do this, go to the YouTube channel. We post full video content now, and you'll be able to see Hunter do what he just did. So
yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's worth it. Do it. As far as topics go on this podcast, thank you for explaining all that, by the way. I feel
you're welcome.
Grateful to have that inside scoop, especially as someone who is going to thoroughly test your belt out.
Yes.
I actually want to do a video on YouTube on like comparing all of the belts I've ever used for EDC.
Love it.
Yeah, I need to do it. I'm kind of jumping into YouTube now as like my major platform because I like how in depth I can get with stuff. I'm trying to find that balance of like viewer retention and depth. That's something I'm learning as I go. But I'll let you know when that's coming out, and I'll be able to like give some more feedback there.
Please do.
I'm
love to hear
sure
it.
It'll all be amazing, but you know, I'll be honest with you. Don't worry. So
no
with
biases.
That said, okay, you got it. Amazing. Yeah. Okay. So we didn't really get to talk about concealed carry much. As far as like sorry, I just dropped my Sharpie. As far as how you balance training, I want to make sure to ask you this before we end the episode. How you balance competition training and concealed carry. I'd love to know that, because you're one of those people online where I feel like I see a really good mixture of both types of content. I don't scroll as much as I used to. I've tried to not
As
do
we
that as much for
shouldn't.
mental health.
Yeah.
Right. Create, don't
Yeah.
consume. But it's tough
Yeah.
because you want to support your friends. You want to stay in the know.
And I want to see what's
There's a-
trendy. Absolutely.
yeah, you don't want to get left behind. Yeah, for sure. Like I did with your belt, I was like, I got to get my hands on one of these. So, with all that said, how do you go about balancing your concealed carry training and competition training? And what would you suggest for someone who's kind of branching into both worlds right now at the same time?
I would say I like carrying relatively the same gun that I compete with. Like today I got a little micro compact. We got a little Smith & Wesson Equalizer, little sub.
Oh,
This is my
nice.
favorite subcompact gun. I think it's super
Oh,
underrated.
cool.
Just dropped a
Yeah.
YouTube video, Hunter Constantine YouTube dog on. But
Oh, yeah. We'll link it.
honestly, the number one thing you need for your concealed carry is just your draw and your reloads. So you can do that in dry fire. You don't necessarily need to go to the range to live fire that. And so as long as you're getting reps on your competition gear or your competition gun, and you have that understanding, like building that master understanding of what that gun's doing, you're working on your concealed carry. And so it's a bridge of confidence between the two. The biggest thing is just figuring out how to draw and how you're going to carry your gun, especially if you're carrying in a bunch of different positions. And like for me, the gun's in the same spot every single time. I carry appendix, it's 12 o'clock. Every time it's the same draw stroke, but if I'm in a crop top or something and it's a little bit higher, your arm's going to be winged out higher to grab that gun, or like if you have it in a purse or something. And the biggest thing is just practicing how you're going to get your gun out and ready to shoot. As soon as the gun's out, as soon as both hands are on the gun, it's the same. There's no difference. And I know with this gun, the grip angle's a little bit different than my M&P, and it's thinner, so I don't have as much hand on the gun. So I have to really focus on building a connection between the tips of my support hand fingers and my support hand palm. And it's just like a little nuanced thing though, right? Where I'm like, I've shot this gun. If you have the ability and the budget to, I'll like to try to shoot this gun at least once a week, ideally more than that, even if it's just like 3 or 4 mags, just to make sure everything's working on it, make sure your dot's on, your battery, it's lubed, you're up to speed on it. Cause I've picked up some people's carry guns and there's literally like dust inside of the gun because they're not shooting it. They just carry it and that's it. So getting some reps on your gun, if you can do it every week, at a minimum, probably every month, like make it a priority to go shoot like at least 50 or 100 rounds every month. So like you understand where it's at and that your zero's on and so on and so forth. But as far as actual like concealed carry drills and things, I don't really think there's a huge distinction between that and what you're practicing for competition. The biggest thing is just overcoming your draw and overcoming your reload, just because you have a garment to clear or you have to get it out of something off body or something like that. So, and you can dry fire that. It costs 0 money. So you can be at home. My favorite dry fire is what I like to call lazy dry fire, which is putting on Netflix and drawing to characters on the television. Make sure your blinds are closed because your neighbors will think you're a crazy person.
100%.
Ask me how I know that, but
no way.
You can go through the motions of your draw and clearing your garment and building your grip without any ammo in your gun. It's free reps. And so like as of now, I'm not necessarily going to the range and like necessarily practicing concealed carry. I'll touch on my draw. Or there's some days where or like spring steel last year, I forgot my competition belt and just shot from concealed carry the whole match. And that was impromptu. Showed up at the range like 5:45, no belt, and I had my belt though. I had my concealed carry belt, and so full holster, M&P still, and I finished like second overall the match. And so like the biggest thing is like a draw is not going to win you a match. So my concealed carry draw, it's fluid, but it's relatively slow to compare to some of like the expert appendix draw people out there. And so there's guys that can get the gun out in like 3/4 of a second. I don't think it's necessarily that important. It's a good skill to have, but realistically, if you're in a concealed carry position or situation, a sub-second draw is probably not necessary. And if it is like you found yourself in a terrible situation, you were not like aware of your surroundings of what's going on. But I can't think of many times where like a sub-second draw is crucial for the average citizen. Like
Yeah.
people could argue for law enforcement, it's a bit different where like things can happen very fast. But generally speaking, we should be trying to get ourselves out of the situation and not being engaging in gunfire as a general citizen. Like majority of times you're going to have an opportunity to get yourself out of that situation. And then if you do have to take action, there's usually time for you to like draw your gun, get behind cover, and like have a smart plan or decision in place, and just like being aware of your surroundings of what's going on. And so, and
Absolutely.
I'm sure people in the comments can argue one point or another, but I'm just speaking in generalities here where like
Of course.
our goal
Yes.
should be
Yeah.
not to get into an engagement. And if we are in an
Yes.
engagement, your first goal should be to get to cover instead of being like, I've prepared my whole Instagram career for this moment, and then do a
Hell
fast
yeah.
little draw. But
Exactly.
either way, so yeah, just go out and
Oh, yeah.
practice. Just go shoot your gun. Be purposeful in your practice. Everything translates. And like go if your local range allows it, shoot matches from concealed. I've done that too,
Mhm.
and just
I
to
love
get
it.
reps on it. Yeah, and
It's actually
it's
so
fun.
much fun. I needed that at one point. I was kind of like, what is my purpose here at USPSA shooting from outside the waistband? And then I saw Tessa Booth do it from her Filster Enigma, and I was like, well, that's how I carry. So once I like showed up and did that, I had so much fun, and then it kind of like reignited my enjoyment for it. I'd taken a break after I got out of med school into my master's. I then like got married and renovated a house and like had this big break.
Love
and then
it.
I was kind of like,
Yeah.
oh, I don't want to like, I don't know, why do I want to shoot again? So that kind of like brought that all back up for me. So if anyone's in that position right now, getting a master's, getting married, renovating a house, just kidding, or in just any spot where you're like, what am I doing? And I want to mix it up. Highly recommend doing that.
Yeah,
It's
and it's
really
great,
cool.
and it builds confidence where like any situation, and I have my gun on me, like I've made 400-yard shots with my M&P, and not saying that like in a defensive situation I'm going to shoot 400 yards, because an attorney could probably argue you could get out of the situation before you need to make a 400-yard shot. But like I know with my gun that I'm capable of making that shot, or like I'll do 50-yard plate racks, and just understanding like what I need to do to get a 50-yard shot compared to like a 3-yard shot, and things like that.
Yeah.
So just it's building confidence more than anything else. And so again, it's just like an extension of your body. And so the more you shoot, I also recommend like carrying a gun similar to what you compete with, to a certain extent. Like don't expect to be proficient with a stub nose revolver if you're shooting a full size steel frame striker fire gun. Like get reps on those guns. Don't let them collect dust. And like even carrying like the subcompact, like this is completely different than my M&P 9, but I still shoot this gun regularly, so I know how it shoots, how it recoils, like just everything about it. And so just get out there and shoot more than anything else.
I like it. Hell yeah.
Oh, cool.
Some mini reps on the episode. Awesome. Hunter, this has been incredible. Thank you
I love
so
it.
much.
I probably
Oh my gosh.
I could probably talk for like another hour and a half.
Oh, I know you could. And I would love
and
that.
I know you could too.
Another way we could do this is you come back on sometime.
I think that's probably the best solution.
Yeah, reflect on this and be like, damn, I wish I had talked about this. And then just like take a little mental note, and then feel free to come back on anytime. I
love it.
I used to be in the mindset of like, no, it needs to be like different people. And then like I did a part 2 with someone one time, and it was like we got to revisit part 1. I got to like do some research in the meantime, ask new questions, and like it's kind of like shooting a match the second day or the same stages. It's like a nice little fresh perspective with the same people. I'm rambling. All of that to say, thank you for coming on. Please come on for another time if you're willing. Yes, and I will be down to Arizona soon. I miss Brittany. We got to hang out at SHOT Show, and
we got a whole crew for you down here.
Hell yeah, absolutely, and Tessa and all of them. So many people. Just check off those boxes. Cool. Anyway, thank you again.
Yeah.
I will link everything you mentioned today in the show notes. So fear not, if you're listening and it's totally fine. That's usually how it is.
Okay.
If you're listening and you want to quickly access anything, the show notes are the notes below the title. Before we go, Hunter, is there anything you would like to leave the listeners with?
Just go shoot matches, learn your gun. Don't be afraid to have fun.
Perfect.
That's short
Awesome.
and sweet.
Thank you for sharing that. I love it. I love it. One day I'm going to do a compilation of all of these. So I love that. Yeah, working on that. I guess my husband's going to be the one to have to do that. Sorry, Caleb.
Shout out, Caleb.
Right? I know. I'm thinking at the 100th episode, we'll do something special like that. So almost there. All right. So everyone listening, thank you. If you don't mind, really quickly, take a second to go and rate this podcast wherever you're listening. That is how She Shield will get discovered. That is the little piece that you can add and give back. Please, please, please take a second to do that on Spotify. It's just stars.
5 stars.
Yes. 5 stars.
I'm commanding you for 5 stars.
Thank you. We're at 5. At one point we had like 4.9 and I was like, shit. And then we got back up to 5.
Bump it back up.
I wish it would. Right. I wish we could get actual feedback and not just stars, but for now it's stars. So let's do that. And then if you're interested in highlights of this episode, of course, the whole thing is a highlight, but little short snippets on social. We are at She Shield Pod. Elisa Hamilton, incredible media manager of the podcast, makes all of those little shorts. So hop on there to see those and go to YouTube for the full version. All resources mentioned are linked. As I said, we have our Gentle Slope code to get 10% off of your Hunter Constantine concealed carry belt.
Yes.
And if you or anyone you know is a firearms owner experiencing a crisis, you can look into holdmyguns.org. They're an organization that will connect you with the local gun shop or FFL to store your firearm for you in a time of need. The link to access their website and to find a local storage partner is available in the show notes. Thank you for listening. In the meantime, stay safe and stay vigilant.